Fun Town. Let's take a look at this forgotten amusement park of the past. Tonight, on Project Algerine. Sometimes, there are places from our past that many in the community still hold a special place in their heart for. One such place would be a quirky little amusement park known as Fun Town. Let's start with a trip into the distant past. In the 1860s, a shipbuilder by the name of E. Beebe owned the property of what would later become the southeast corner of West 6th Street and Peninsula Drive. At the time, this small piece of property looked much different. The property was divided in half by a ravine, with a small stream going through it, named Facet Run. In 1880, the property was sold at a sheriff's sale, with the purchaser being the wealthy coal and railroad industrialist William L. Scott. The property sat on the western edge of what became known as the Algeria Farm. The Algeria Farm became world famous for the breeding and training of racehorses. After the death of William L. Scott in 1891, the farm property was divided up, and the property that later becomes Fun Town sits vacant for around 59 years. The ravine, cutting through the middle, makes it undesirable for most developers. Around 1950, Facet Run was encased in a large tube, running under 6th Street, and the ravine has been filled in. This made the property much more commercially viable. This is the story of Fun Town. It's 1970, and a developer, whose last name is coincidentally Scott, yet is no relation to the late 1800s coal and railroad tycoon William L. Scott, has just secured the property, and that announced a new amusement park will be built on the site. The property would feature a restaurant called the Char House, a miniature golf course, and a giant carpet slide. Early that summer, both the Char House and Fun Town opened for the first season. The giant slide was massive. It stretched over 200 feet in length, and consisted of 12 lanes for riders to slide down. Visitors to the park would have a delicious meal at the Char House, before plunging down the giant slide for a quick thrill. It was popular with all ages. The miniature golf course was said to be one of the most challenging in the area, and the park had enough lighting so that the players could easily play at night. A set of outdoor bumper cars, known as the Bashmobiles, rounded out a night of excitement. Fun Town was an instant success with the families in the area, and even drew crowds from as far away as Pittsburgh. With the park bordering the main roadway to the peninsula, the desire to stop for a ride on the Ferris wheel became a tradition for many beachgoers. The giant slide was itself its own advertising billboard. The amazing size of the structure and the bright blue color made every kid passing by beg their parents to stop so they could take a slide. Fun Town had just made it through its first season, with still more to come. In the third season, Fun Town added a moon bounce. The air-filled ride simulated walking on the moon, which was actually happening around that time in real life with the Apollo moon missions. In 1974, Fun Town first added go-karts to the park, losing much of its southern parking lot to the new kart track. The go-karts were an immediate hit with the guests. 1975 saw the addition of the arcade, which was located on the backside of the Char House. There were about 20 games for people to play. It's hard to imagine, but they somehow figured out how to squeeze a roller coaster in there in 1976. The Mad Mouse would take riders on an interweaving course of hairpin turns and steep drops. Like most parks at the time, Funtown was compelled to innovate new ideas, following whatever the trends of the day may be. A new open-air bounce house, named Concord Castle, was added. The open-air setting of this new bounce house allowed for parents to keep a better eye on their children. The park's original carousel was small enough so that it could be easily moved around the park as necessary. In 1985, the park updated its go-karts and built a brand new track. The new go-karts brought a lot of new visitors to the park. But trends in the amusement park industry are about to make a shift. Water parks explode in popularity across the country almost overnight. And Funtown is about to go through a drastic change. The giant carpet slide is converted into an enormous tube slide. A 4-story structure was erected on the southwestern end of the property to support 2 new water slides. By this time next season, the park will have changed its name from Funtown to Wild Waters Water Park. The miniature golf course was replaced by a large heated wave pool. It was one of the first of its kind in the country. Nobody knew what to expect the following season. The summer of 1986 was one of the hottest on record. And the crowds flocked to the new Wild Waters Water Park, which had just transformed itself from a small roadside amusement park. The park's giant carpet slide has been converted into a water slide. The base of the slide was covered with a smooth yet soft spongy surface, and a large water pump was installed to bring the water up to the top. The park had 2 enclosed water slides. Each slide had its own twisting and winding shape, before bringing both ends together and spitting the riders out into the same splashdown pool. The giant wave pool consisted of 350,000 gallons of water, and could produce waves as high as 4 feet. The water was heated, and kept at a comfortable 80 degrees. The park employed more than 25 certified lifeguards. The go-karts were still a popular attraction, and the track would twist its way around the water park. Local bands would perform on Friday nights, and radio promotions would happen frequently. But all good things come to an end. After 4 seasons as Wild Waters Water Park, the writing was on the wall. The park had no ability to expand and grow any further, and the amusement park industry was once again changing. Smaller parks were being purchased by larger regional parks, and then usually closed. This trend, sadly, was happening throughout the country at that time. Many small parks were left to rot. Coupled with the increasing cost for maintenance, materials, and a specialized labor force that was only needed for 3 months out of the year, the options became pretty clear. The park could intentionally be closed, the rides sold, and the property put up for sale. Or likely suffer the same dark fate of hundreds of other parks in the country at that time. In May of 1990, it was announced that the park property had been purchased by the church, located right next door. It would be used by parishioners for additional parking, and the rest converted back to green space. The former developer of Funtown went on to create one of the largest indoor water park resorts in the Northeast. Some would say that the old heart of Funtown is still beating within Splash Lagoon today. You've been watching Funtown on Project Algerine.